Hey everyone, welcome to the VO Boss podcast. I'm your host, Ann Ganguza, and today I have the pleasure and honor of being with very special guest, Jennifer Sims. Jennifer, hi. For those bosses who do not know Jennifer, she is a voice actor, coach, and 100% certified smarty pants. I'm so jealous of that branding. She is known for her authentic, conversational, confident, and playful delivery, and has a unique perspective from both sides of the glass, and works for clients such as Hyundai, Wells Fargo, CVS, Vons. The list goes on and on and on. She honed her quirky sense of humor, studying comedy and improv, which is always so important, I think, for us as voice actors, at the Upright Citizens Brigade and the Groundlings, and that helped her to land on-camera commercials for Uber, Snapchat, and WebMD. She began her acting career out of high school and basically was on her own for a short period of time in LA as a very young girl, which is great, and also as a producer has had the pleasure of collaborating on hundreds of radio, television, and promo spots, and has worked with some amazing talent along the way. And what haven't you done, Jennifer Sims? I'm telling you.
So much. Thank you, Ann. That was lovely. Not as much as I'd like, and I'm certainly, hopefully more. Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I met you. Well, I met you not like physically, but I met you through our VIP room, and I was so impressed with your background and your wisdom and everything. So I wanted to make sure that I had an opportunity to have you on the show, and so our bosses could also get to know you. So let's talk a little bit about your varied career, because I think it's super important in terms of why you're so successful now and how you started off with acting and then as a producer. Talk about that for a little bit and tell us how it's helped you become successful in your voiceover career.
Yeah, that's been it informs most of my career, certainly in the beginning, because when I decided to leave my director of broadcast job, I was working for an ad agency here in Los Angeles, was the director of broadcast, and I was bringing in a lot of voice actors for promo and commercials, etc. And you know how it is when you see somebody and you're like, boo, why do they get to do it? I want to do it too. But as I started my career, realizing that we're a part of the process, voice actors are part of a process, particularly in commercial, since that was my area. And when I was bringing in voice actors to record them, it comes very late in the process. Recording the voice actor for a commercial is one of the last things we do as a process in creating a commercial. So knowing that we're I shouldn't say this, but we're part of a collaborative team. We're now brought into the team. We're problem solvers. We're creatives, along with creative director, copywriter, and understanding why the copy is the way it is. I know a lot of us will go, this copy's terrible. It's poorly written. I'm like, you don't know where that copy is.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah. I love that you just opened up with that perspective, because honestly, like the nuggets of wisdom that really people get out of listening to, you brought them right at the front when people get for listening to a podcast or being educated. I love the fact that we are part of a process, and you brought that to our attention, because I think a lot of times we're in our bubble in our studios here, and we forget that it's not just all about our voice, but it's part of a process, and there's reasons for so many things, right? Exactly. There's reasons for that, and you're so absolutely right. How many times have you got a piece of copy and I've heard my students, oh my God, this copy sucks, or I've read on some forum where people are like, oh my God, the copy sucks, and why does the copy suck? But I think it's important to know that we are part of a collaborative process, and it doesn't begin and end with us, and that's an important part to understand, so that we know where we fit in. And the more that I think we can predict how we can fit in best to complete the process, I think will really help us as actors.
Yeah, exactly. Really well said, Ann. So true. It's like, how do we fit into this process? Because we do, and even now as an actor working on my own, I will sort of forget that there's a lot going on, and that when I get copy and I'm like, oh, well, I don't know how many R&D, research and development meetings they had on this copy. I
Right.
don't know what focus groups might have said about this copy. Like big companies spend a lot of time and money making sure that their copy is delivering the message that they want. And, a lot of things on the ad agency side, we're looking at things that copy, and I'm like, well, legal says we can't say that.
Right.
Or
Right.
legal says we have to say this. So, when we're sort of like, boo, the copy kind of PU, it's like, well, you don't know why.
Yeah.
It may be a legal thing. It may be a client directive. It may be, who knows?
I always
And
try to remember that because like somebody somewhere was paid money to write this copy and they know like there's, they know that product or there's an intent with that product or there's an intent with that copy that we are not necessarily aware of. Nor do they tell us, but it's something that I think that we as actors, we need to create that story, even if they're not telling us what it is. We need to create that story so that we can connect as much as possible to that copy and fit into like where they hear what they hear in their head, right? We need to fit that kind of that spec there.
exactly. And I think it also goes to the idea of given a level playing field of extremely talented actors,
Mm-hmm.
most often I only needed one person to do the job, to solve the
Mm-hmm.
problem
Mm-hmm.
of whatever problem we were trying to solve creatively. And so I think it's easy to start to feel like, oh, I got rejected. I don't book this kind of work.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, given a level playing field, just assume that somebody got selected, but it doesn't mean that everyone else was rejected.
Right.
Honestly, as I was listening to actors, I'm like, I wouldn't get in all my auditions for, say, a television commercial voiceover. And I would maybe listen to 50, 100, and then call it down to present to my boss, my creative director, and the client, maybe 10. And any
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
one of those people could have booked it. Somebody got selected. That's all. It's just a matter of
And
selection.
And the thing of it is that you who this is, you're at the beginning of that process listening to all of those auditions, you would narrow it down to a particular amount of people. But then
Mm-hmm.
ultimately the decision is not necessarily yours. So I think
Yeah.
voice actors, we forget that it can go to your boss and your boss is not maybe a casting director, doesn't have an ear for it, or just, this is what he or she had in mind. And so the pick from then doesn't necessarily, I don't think it's always necessarily based on your acting skills. It's just like a feeling maybe that they have, oh yeah, this sounds right.
Yeah,
Or
it's very subjective,
yeah,
extremely
very
subjective.
subjective. And
And
I think we
yeah,
forget that.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
know that being that it's so subjective, if you sound just not quite what they want, I had a creative director, I was presenting talent. This woman was extremely talented. I was advocating for her. And he's like, she sounds a lot like, I forget if it was his cousin or his ex-wife or somebody. He's like, and I don't like that person. So she
Yeah.
just reminded him vocally of somebody in his world that he's like, don't like. She was very good, perfectly like perfect for the role.
Mm-hmm.
And subjectively, my creative director was like, nope, reminds me of someone, and I don't like that person. Bye. And I'm like, all right, well, that's how that's gonna go. Or we get replaced. I was
Yeah.
the voice of a promo for a really, really long time, which was a great recurring gig. And somebody new came in at the top. The client like switched positions, new client, and they're like, no, I want to pick the voiceover.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like I was out. It's like
Yeah.
they
That
felt like
probably-
that was the prior stamp. And now they
Yes.
wanted to stamp it with their
Sure.
own.
That's such a good point because a lot of times, like people, like companies change, directors, companies change, in departments. And a lot of times you may be the indirect result of that or not, like being let go because of things like that you have absolutely no control over. And
Yeah.
so that is also a big part of, the process in our heads as actors. We need to remember that on
Yeah.
any given day, that it's not always. I think that if you can come into your audition with the skills that you need, the
Yeah.
actor skills, everybody says, what's trending these days? What's the sound these days? And I'm like, I think just be an actor.
Have
because
good acting skills,
they
maybe?
have good acting skills, because I feel like if you have good acting skills and the person, like say you, right, that is at the initial level of listening to all of the auditions, right, you're going to be able to hear that from the
Yeah,
get-go. From the first few words, you're going to hear, okay, here's an actor. Now, what I like about this actor is that I can work with this actor. So maybe they didn't give the precise read that you were looking for at the time, but you know that they're an actor and that they'll
right.
be able to be directed. And
Exactly.
I think that's so important. And I think that's the best that you can come in with in your audition, to be armed with your acting skills, to
Yeah.
showcase those acting skills, because all the other stuff we just have no control over.
Exactly. Control what you can,
Yeah.
getting auditions in on in a timely manner,
Naming
having great
them properly.
file naming. I always talk about like naming those, like,
Why
because
is that so difficult for people? I don't know. I come from a technology background, and it always amazes me how many times people like don't understand how to name files when here's the convention, and yet
right, just
somehow
copy and paste it and then write your name. Like,
but
I I don't
I
know why, but I don't think
yeah.
actors realize that if they mislabel a file,
Oh,
it's going in the
that'll
trash.
piss off somebody. Yeah, I mean, like me, especially somebody that I'm handling a lot of files, right?
Yeah,
And especially like if I have control over it, like I'm like, no,
exactly. Like
you're not hired. And if you're going
paying
to argue
attention.
with me about the name of that file and why, you know what I mean? Or if I gave you a confusing, no, I mean, sorry,
Just follow instructions,
follow
people. But yeah, I
instructions.
think that actors may not realize that if you are missing those little details, like not following the spec, or because
Hmm.
you're just like running and gunning and just like, I'm in a hurry, I'll just read the copy, or not connecting to the copy, or mislabeling the file, it's like that's going to get you booted out of the
Hmm.
mix
Hmm.
because there's just not enough time. And people don't understand. It's like, well, why, oh, so I put my name before the client's name. It's like, if you're in casting or you're producing, you're not just casting one thing. So if you put your name first before the client's name,
Hmm.
I don't know what to do with this file, or usually it goes
Yeah.
into a database. And
Yeah.
so the database is just going to go, I don't know what to do with this garbage. I think people, just realizing like why it's so important could be helpful. So
Hmm.
people just
Hmm.
slow down a little bit and go, oh, what's the file convention? So that's it. That's my TED talk on
There you
file
go. I
naming.
like that. Well, I'm right there with you on the file. I'm on the file.
I know,
I
because you're dealing with hundreds of files.
I know, right? I mean, so I touched upon this a little bit in your bio, which I think is so interesting, is that you studied comedy. Uh,
Yeah,
Talk to us, and
really
improv, of
hard.
course. Everybody always says yes, improv, yes, and improv, of course, is so important. But I also think comedy too is important, because this is just my outside looking in perspective, right? When we're listening, right, we need to command the attention of the audience, right? Whether we're voicing a commercial or a commercial or a corporate narration or whatever it is, we need to engage the ear of, or the attention of the listener, and that is
Right.
important. And I feel like comedy is absolutely one of those techniques that can be used to get people's attention and keep it. And I think it's important
Definitely.
that if you have comedy in your script, that you can find it and you can execute it. So talk to us a little bit about that and the importance of comedy and improv.
Definitely. I have you been seeing a lot of scripts or a lot of castings where it's like, we want people with comedy and improv,
Hmm.
even though they may not ask you to necessarily be super hilarious
Yes,
or improv.
absolutely.
They're listening for
A
comedy is
nuance.
a nuance,
Hmm.
exactly. Comedy is like very subtle, I think, in voiceover
Hmm.
because when I was producing um, on the agency side back in the day, comedy in commercials was a lot more prevalent. We had
Hmm.
doubles copy. We very rarely have two
Oh.
characters talking
Hmm.
anymore. So
Hmm.
it was a little more like in your face kind of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
comedy.
Back and
But
forth, kind of like.
yeah, back and
Hmm.
forth. You could
Hmm.
riff off the other person.
Hmm.
Now we're pretty much just doing one person voiceover.
Hmm.
So that comedy has to be layered in, but never steal from the actual hero, our product, or our
Hmm.
client.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of times when we're newer as voice actors, we're going for the yucks, like hee haw,
Yeah,
and it's like no,
yeah,
that's going to get you also noticed for all the wrong reasons.
yeah,
So I think
yeah.
I agree with you entirely. It's got to be
And
layered, it's got to be nuanced, and you have to be able to find it. Sometimes
well,
people, when I'm
yeah,
coaching, they miss the joke. I'm like, do you see that there's like a
yeah.
little
There's a joke there.
pithy
Yeah,
wit here? They're like,
yeah.
no, I'm like, great, let's find
or a
it.
play on words. And here's the thing too, in writing scripts and for demos and for my students and
Mm.
comedy is tough to execute in a certain timeline. Like comedy is tough. Especially if you're doing comedy writing in a demo, it's very tough to execute without sounding like a one-liner dad joke, right?
Yeah. Oh
And
gosh, so
and
true.
especially if you need to execute that time, and just in a 30-second, 15-second commercial to execute comedy and a sale at the same
Yeah,
time is tough. It's tough to do.
it's really
And so
tough.
it does become very nuanced, right? Because
Yeah.
and especially like in corporate, like when you get into like something longer, like longer format, like corporate narration,
Mm.
um, you're not going to necessarily find too much humor unless the brand itself doesn't mind making fun of itself, right? There's
Right. Exactly.
not many companies I know that make fun of themselves unless they have quirky products. Then they can make,
Right.
right?
If that's
Um,
their corporate culture, great.
exactly,
But a lot of corporate
exactly.
is like, no, very
Right.
straightforward, very,
But they might have a nuance, right? And so I
mhm.
love the fact that yes, if they're looking for that nuance, and that is something that is it's maybe a note, it's a wink, it's a point
Yeah.
of view that I think if you can execute, and it only
Yeah.
needs to happen, like a little instant, then
Yeah.
that
Just a
to me,
little
I can
smattering.
hear it right away, and people can
Yeah.
hear it right away. They might not put their finger on it and say, "Oh, that was funny," like "ha ha," knee slapping, funny,
Yeah.
but the execution of it is really it's key. It's key.
Yeah.
And I think
Exactly.
that comedy and improv is wonderful for people to as a background, to have as a background in their
Yeah.
acting skills. I
Yeah.
mean,
I agree. I think it's
comedy's
really important.
tough.
Comedy's
Did you perform like stand-up comedy? That's
No, I actually
okay.
took a couple. I'm like, no, I'm a
That's tough.
smart ass, but that
Yeah.
was tough.
Yeah,
So I took
yeah.
a friend of mine was teaching, she is a comic, and she taught she taught classes, and I
Mhm.
did two of her classes.
Yeah.
And after the first class, she's like, okay, and as you know, we're going to an open mic,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
it was
Yeah. Brutal.
torture.
Yeah,
It was
brutal.
brutal, just a bar room full of people going, make me laugh. And I'm like,
Yeah, I can't
this
imagine.
is
I think
hard.
I have a friend who did stand up, and everybody in Burbank, right? Everybody's at
At
Flappers, and
Flappers.
yeah, everybody's at
Yeah.
Flappers, and come see my
Well,
show at Flappers, and but I mean, if you want to feel challenged. I mean, stand up
yeah.
at a mic in front of an audience that's like, all right,
Yeah, like just staring at you and you're sitting in the mic going,
make me laugh.
oh
But
gosh.
there's where I think like the thinking fast on your feet
Yeah.
is going to help you, and I think it's going to help you no matter what. I mean, those of us who aren't necessarily doing comedy, like stand-up comedy, but here we are in our booths, and we're doing auditions, right?
Hmm.
I think if you have the time to evaluate and analyze your script and find the humor. I mean, we have the luxury of some time
Yeah.
of finding that humor and being able to execute upon that. I think if you can do that, if it's there in the copy,
Yeah.
that's what you try to put up front and showcase.
I always say I'm going to zag. Well,
Yeah.
if everyone else is going to zig,
Yes.
I'm at least going to zag appropriately, because I also don't want to
Right.
be the actor who's
Right.
like, well, I remember her
Well, that
for
didn't
the
make
reason that
sense.
she
Yeah.
went off the
Yeah.
rails.
Yeah,
So
it has
that's
to
not
make
the reason.
sense. It
Yeah,
has to make
it
sense
has
for
to
the
make
copy,
sense.
right? And so I feel like that improv, also when I ask my students to create the scene, right? Be actors for a corporate narration that might be talking about, investments or something that might
Right.
sound dry. What is that story? Who are you talking to? Why does it matter?
Exactly.
You've
Connect
got
to
to
that.
you've got to be able to have that quick, like, let me create the scene and let me respond to it, right? And
Yeah.
that just helps to enhance your script analysis, the speed at which you do that. And also if you're being asked live, like give me an AB of that or an ABC of that.
Yeah. How are you
And
going to do that if you haven't created some
exactly.
scenario? I always think about how in scene work and acting, we think about the moment before. And it's
Yes.
always because you'll hear actors, or I've heard this in auditions lots, where I'm listening to an audition, particularly when I was producing. It's like, I don't even know why I hear
Yeah.
them saying the script,
Why are they
but
saying those
why are
words?
you even talking? It
Yeah.
feels like you just sort of like dropped in cold and
Hmm.
started talking, but I don't know why.
Yeah.
And I always
Yeah.
can hear an actor who's a little bit more connected to the
Yeah.
copy, and that's because they've
Absolutely.
created some reason for talking in the first place.
Yeah, they created a
it,
reason to say those first words. There's got to
yeah,
be a response or a reaction. And I say that even for corporate copy,
definitely
even for
everything.
e-learning. You know what I mean? Like you've got a student that just asked you a question. And so otherwise it sounds like, to me, I'm always telling my students, it sounds like once upon a time I started a
Yeah,
monologue,
exactly.
and it just became like, oh, I picked this thought out of the air and I just started saying it, and there's no
Yeah.
reason for it. And so,
Yeah, it's weird how we can hear that. Isn't
mhm,
that weird? It's like the microphone sort of like picking up your thoughts, sort of like the
yeah,
camera
it's
records
like,
thought. That's why you've got to have something going
yeah.
on behind your eyes
I
when you're
think it's like you
acting.
can hear somebody reading, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a certain melody, and I know there's got to be scientific evidence, right? There's a melody that we have when we read words, and I know
Yeah.
it very well because I'm always telling people to stop reading.
Right.
Because
Start
it's just
talking,
you
stop
sound
reading.
like you're reading, and
Yeah.
so there's a melody to just reading the words, and it seems to start at the same pitch, like, "Hi, I'm Anne. I started here
Yeah.
once upon a time, and so
I've
if you,
heard casting talk about this.
yeah,
Voice casting agents will talk about this all the time. It's like,
yeah,
again, given a level playing field, the
mm-hmm,
first people we're going to boot out of the running are people who sound like they're reading as opposed to talking.
mm-hmm.
And it's a challenging skill set because
It
we are
is.
literally reading scripts, but we're interpreting like written speech into spoken speech, and it's the skill set. So it
Yeah.
takes time. And I
So,
was thinking about how whenever I'm auditioning for something, I think, well, I'd love to book it, of course, but I always
mhm,
think I'm not auditioning for this one. I'm auditioning for the next one.
mhm,
Because let's say,
mhm.
I don't get selected for this one. I
Right.
want you to remember me for the next one. So
Right.
something
Right.
I do in this audition, I want to spark a little like, well, let's keep her in mind for something
Mhm.
else down the road
Mhm.
because that's all I can control.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of auditioning and being an active voice actor, and a woman of a certain age, and I say that you look amazing.
Well,
Um,
thank you,
I
but
s-
let's face it, I'm
we've been in the
not
business for a
not a
while.
teenager.
Yes. Well, yeah. I cannot sound millennial no matter what I do.
I
Even though I
know.
have a younger sounding voice, no, it's
Yeah,
mostly in the attitude. But I
for sure.
feel like let's talk a little bit about being, having been in the community and been in the industry for a while. What's
Yeah.
it like these days, being a little bit older in this industry? How are you finding work? How are you finding? Is it plentiful? Are you
Yeah,
finding
I mean,
maybe?
it's plentiful, but I still think that in general, we're youth oriented. So
Hmm.
if you're over a
Hmm.
certain age, 40 or beyond, oh, let's face it, I
Yeah.
haven't seen 40 in a minute.
Yeah, me either.
Um, and look at us, we're thriving.
There we go.
But the voiceover industry is definitely very inclusive. It's getting more diverse all the time. Like when I was producing commercials, you most definitely had to sound a certain way,
Yeah,
be of a certain demographic. And now we're hearing all sorts of wonderful, diverse
which is great.
voices. I still think there's room for us to include more voices that are definitely over 40. I'm still
Yeah.
hearing people on the air where I'm like, you don't sound old enough
To
to
talk
tell me
about
about
this.
retirement
Yeah,
or
right?
having a
Exactly.
baby. You sound like a
Well,
kid.
I always try to tell people, I try to choose, I start with the product because I feel like companies are going to promote their products to the demographic they can sell to. So it
Yeah.
starts there, right? So what sort of a product would you sell to a demographic of females over 40 or females
Yeah,
over 50? And I feel like that's where it starts. I feel like the
exactly.
youthful, like the younger sounding, I think it's because the company is trying to expand their demographic to make more
Sure.
sales. I think
Yeah,
that's where it starts, anyways. Or
I
the
agree.
idea that because I'm always saying, well, the trend right now is a little bit towards more millennial, and that's just the way it is. But I
Yeah.
feel like there are certain products that a millennial does not sound realistic talking about, like Depends, or
Right.
that.
Or retirement
Yeah,
or
or
certain financial
retirement, yeah, or
instruments or
maybe at least
mortgages or things where it's
exactly.
like, wouldn't you have to be a little older to be
An
getting,
elder millennial at
yeah,
least,
yeah.
I mean,
Now
to,
let's go,
to talk about that.
go
But
you elder millennials. It's
I
hard to
know that
believe.
I know that in automotive, that was a big thing because the younger gen, when, with Uber and all, and guys, bosses out there, if you study, like, it's not hard to study like demographics and marketing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, during the pandemic, nobody was buying and nobody was buying cars, and younger people were not buying cars because they were really reliant on Uber and
Right.
Lyft and the rideshare stuff. And so car companies started really marketing hard towards younger people. And that changes who they hire, right, to do their
Right.
voiceovers. And so
Exactly.
I think it's something, bosses, that you need to really like spend a few minutes every day studying the market that you want to sell into. Really, it's not hard. It's Google. And
Yeah,
again, Google
it's
says.
iSpot, Google.
And again, Google says that honestly, like, you can just type in like, demographic, automotive demographics, or,
Yeah.
trends, or, and it's easy to find that out. And that can help inform you to maybe, I think it can inform, like, educationally, what you might be auditioning for, how you would respond to an audition,
Right.
right? What is the company? Who are they targeting their
Right.
sales
Or
to?
if you're doing direct marketing, which I think
Yeah,
every voice actor should be doing,
I
if you're
agree.
directly marketing yourself to a client, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
do you vibe with that client? Are
Exactly.
you appropriate for that client? So that's basically how I'm represented. I have talent agents across the country, and it's very clear to me that my reps are very good about knowing like what my wheelhouse is.
Mm-hmm.
So I do get a
Mm-hmm.
lot of like healthcare,
Yeah, yeah,
insurance,
of course.
tech,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
things like that, because that's who I
That's the demographic.
vocally appeal
Exactly.
to. Yeah, it
Exactly.
makes sense. And women have an enormous buying power because we make most of the household buying decisions in most households. And so even though I still think the guys are doing about 60% of the commercial voiceover work, we're at 40%, so we're catching up.
Yeah.
But I think companies are starting to realize that women's voices are appropriate for their products and they want
Yeah.
to market to us. So I think
Mm-hmm.
we're doing better all the time. So yeah, there's a lot of content out there.
So I would say that with all our wisdom, with all your wisdom,
With our collective
with all our
wisdom.
no, with your wisdom, what would be your best tip for people that are just starting out today? Because the industry has evolved over the years and it has definitely changed. So today, if somebody's interested in pursuing voice acting, what do you say to them?
Yes, brand spanking new.
Yeah.
I'd say, and I know people are like, but you all are coaches, so of course you're going to say this, but I would say this even if I didn't coach. It is a skill set. And
Yeah.
so I think you've got to start with good training. And then I also and I tell my students this all the time, get involved in the voiceover community.
Mm-hmm.
Get your squad together, get an accountability group, do
Yeah.
a voiceover workout group. You and I were just at the Nava Gala.
Yep.
Is it Gala or Gala?
Yeah. Gala.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
I think Gala.
okay.
Gala sounds more elegant.
Nava Gala, and
We're
it
the
was
Nava Gala.
fantastic. And it's a constant reminder that when we're so isolated and working on our own, if we don't have community around us, this job is hard.
It
But
is. Yeah.
but it's much I love the voiceover community so much. And so if we have a community around us, we're learning things, we're sharing things. And so I always suggest to people, they're like, oh, I don't know what to do. How do I
Mhm.
help myself in this career? I'm like, well, get good training and get involved in the community so that you're constantly learning from your peers,
Absolutely.
or at least because we're working by ourselves, it can feel a little lonely and isolating.
Mhm.
Get some VO pals and get lifted up.
And listen to podcasts like the VO Boss podcast.
Yes, please listen to VO Boss.
Listen to
Trust
VO
Ann.
Boss, guys. I've been
Yeah,
doing
she's
this
a
for
boss.
8 years now. Oh my gosh, it seems
Wow, isn't
so
that
forever. 8 years
amazing?
every week.
I love it.
Oh my
Every
goodness. Wow. So where can, if bosses want to find out more about you, where can they find out more about you?
I'm a busy kitty on the Instagram at the Jen Sims. My website, thejensims.com. I'm busy there too. So yeah,
Awesome.
come see
Awesome.
me.
Well, Jennifer, it has been so much fun. I think we could probably talk for
I
another
know.
hour or hours.
It
But
would be a delight, but I know you're booked and busy, so getting on to other things.
but I thank you so much for
Thank you.
spending your morning with me. And bosses, make sure you look up Jen. Jen, can I call you Jen? Jen?
Yeah, I go by Jen or
You can go by
Jennifer. I go by
Jen. Jen.
both. Yeah.
Look up Jen. I want to say Jennifer. Jen. Check
Okay,
out
well,
Jen's website and check her out on her socials. And
yes, please, bosses.
yes, absolutely.
Love to
Thanks
see you there.
again. I'm going to give a
Thank you.
great big shout out to our sponsor, IPDTL. You too can connect and network like bosses. Find out more at ipdtl.com. You guys have an amazing week, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bosses, you're the best.